Ready?
Yeah, yeah. I just charge you. I don't worry about those.
Are we all set? All right.
All right. You all my home?
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Real Estate Plate. As always, I'm your host, Nick Sakalis, coming to you live from the WGBB studios here in lovely Merrick, New York. And it's the season. It's hot. We're busy. As you can tell from the color of my face, I look like a tomato. It's because I was out all day in the sun yesterday, running from house to house, getting burned. Is this May or is this July that we're in right now?
I don't know. You always have a problem with your microphone. I don't know what's going on.
What's going on with the microphone? It's not working again?
I don't hear nothing.
Ah,
Grab the other one.
well, hopefully the YouTube world is hearing me. And can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
All right. So the banana microphone is working, but the other one isn't. And that's the one I like for some reason. I like the hanging one, but whatever. We'll deal with it. We'll deal with it. I got to reorganize now the microphones. Now I'm really hot.
You'll be all right, Nick.
So, like I was saying, we're in peak season. Traffic is roaring everywhere. People are aggressively going out there to buy homes. Sellers keep raising the prices on the houses because they can. And anybody that's out there that's listening, that's upset with the sellers raising the prices or call them greedy, I'm going to tell you something. If you were the one that was a seller, you'd be doing the same exact thing. And if you don't believe that you are, then you're lying to yourself and you're lying to everybody else. Because at the end of the day, everybody's looking to do the best they can for themselves. And you can't blame the sellers for taking advantage of a market that's already there. They're not the one that's manipulating the market. It's a supply and demand. And the only reason I say that is because there's been a lot of animosity. There's been a lot of apprehension from buyers to sellers. A lot of games are being played right now. You're getting a lot of buyers trying to lock up sellers with outrageous prices and then double just to lock up the place and then take a step back and try to drive it down again. And I'll tell you something, if you're dealing with somebody that's a seasoned agent that's handling the situation, they're not going to tolerate that. And it's not a good policy, and it's not good business. It's crazy. This market is not much different than it was in 2005, 2006, 2007, even 2008. That was a hot market. If you had a pulse at the time, you could get a loan. That's why we had that whole financial meltdown, that mortgage meltdown, a housing crisis that happened late 2008 going into 2009. But the mindset, the constant increasing of prices and new records set on a daily basis in areas was very similar to what's happening right now. There is a big difference right now than what we had back then. This is not artificially generated through a unscrupulous mortgage practice that's happening from various lenders. It's very different. This is happening through a pandemic, the coronavirus. This is freaking people out on a whole different level. The inventory is not short because we're selling so fast that we can't recoup everything. The inventory is short because inventory is being held back from sellers that are genuinely scared. And they're genuinely not comfortable putting their houses on the market. And they're generally apprehensive about the fact that if they do sell quickly, where are they going to move to? This is a very different sentiment. This is a real different mindset. And anybody that can't grasp that and can't understand that is being delusional, and they're not looking at it from a logical point of view. Think about what I'm saying. Is this a natural market? No, it is not. Housing prices do not go up 30% year over year, and that's happening in a lot of areas. And consistently spiking new highs and showing the ability to do that on a continuous basis for years to come. That does not happen. It just does not happen. However, it is happening for a multitude of reasons. Like I said, it's happening because the demand has highly exceeded the supply. It has happened because the sentiment of getting out of the major metros is still high. And that's why the suburban and surrounding areas of the major metropolitan areas, like here in New York City, have been steadily growing over the past 18 months. And the interest rates are still really low. So it's still affordable for a lot of people to be able to purchase a place. Don't forget something else that's very important that I haven't heard anybody really talk about. And that's the fact that a lot of people have not been spending money for months. Even the people that have been working, even the people that have been unemployed have been receiving checks from unemployment and other type of stimulus. They're not spending the money as fast as they're getting it. So what's happening, people have built reserves. They have built some savings. So now they have deposits that they can put down. That's why you have a huge uprise of people purchasing first time. A lot of people that are going for FHA loans that previously did not have the deposits to purchase are in the market now. That's an angle that a lot of people haven't really thought about. It's something that a lot of people haven't wanted to think about. But it's a fact, and it's a reality. Look at Trevor there. He's watching me yell.
That your phone going off?
Yeah, it's my phone buzzing all over the place.
Okay.
Thing won't shut up all day. I tell everybody 1 hour on a Monday,
Right.
6 to 7 p.m.
You still calling.
If you want to call the radio station.
That's right.
The number here is 1-516-623-1240. You want to call up the radio station. All my clients, they know that I got that hour. I need to dedicate it to the show. I can't pick up a calls. There's not a fire I could put out within that hour that can't be put out an hour later. So, look, I just got distracted again. This is what happens when I go on my rants and my tirades. I let myself get lost in my thoughts. But I'm going to tell you guys something. Everything that I'm saying right this moment, and a lot of the stuff that I've been saying throughout the past few months about how we are in our current state of the market, is right on target. I'm a human being. Anybody could be wrong about things, but I'm right on target with everything I'm saying. If I'm wrong, call me out 3 months from now, a year from now. Tell me you're out of your mind. I guarantee you're going to have a hard time doing that because I fully analyze the situation. I know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to having a pulse on this market. I've been around long enough to be able to understand it. I've been around long enough to be able to understand some of the psychology coming from buyers and sellers. And what I'm going to tell you right now, we are in a combustible situation where a lot of buyers are at their highest frustration points. They got this built up animosity towards the market, towards the sellers. It's not really the seller's fault. They're just dealing with the market as it's coming. You tell me somebody else that would turn around and say, I know my house is worth $1 million, but I feel like it's too much. I think I should rather take $700,000 instead. You tell me one buyer out there that if they were in the seller's position, they would do that. You might find that one saint. You might find that one Mother Teresa that would possibly do that. But that's not a very common thing that you see. Trevor, if your house is worth $1 million, would you sell it for $700,000 because you feel bad that you're overcharging the market and the buyers, they can't afford it? Would you feel bad about that? Or would you ask for your $1 million? And that's how it goes. You have all the buyers, they're angry. Like you see, they're so angry. And it's not the seller's fault. It really isn't. Now, some sellers, they're taking it to another level. They know they have the leverage, they know they have the product, and they twist it a little bit more. But in general, it's not their fault. This is what the market bears. If you own a share of Amazon, what's Amazon worth right now? $3,100, $3,200. Would you say my shares are worth too much right now? I'm going to sell it back for $2,500. I'm going to sell it for $2,000. No, you never do that because that's what it's worth. So that's the thing I keep trying to drive and help everybody understand, that this market is a living thing of its own. It's dictating the terms, and it's not generated from the seller side or the buyer side. It's generated from the current climate that we're in. If you want to blame anybody and you want to blame any kind of circumstance, blame the laws that were put in place, all the quarantines, the lockdowns that were put in place. You want to find a point that caused this supply and demand situation to come down? That's it. Blame the laws that were put in place that turned Manhattan into a ghost town. An absolute ghost town. It made it a misery for anybody that was living in the city during that time. Can't even go to a damn restaurant. Can't even go to a grocery store to get what you need. So if you want to blame something, blame that. Because all those people that had that misery and that frustration are the ones that were evacuating and leaving the city. And for the people that left New York altogether, blame the taxes. Because it's bad enough you got all these mandates and these frustrations. You got the taxes hitting them hard and saying, why am I living here? Look how nice it is down in Florida. It's not like we had it bad here with COVID, and I'm not going to play it down, and I'm not going to take it lightly because it's not over yet. and we're still dealing with it, but it was incorrectly handled here in New York compared to other states. Because there's other major population states like Florida, like Texas, they handle it differently, and they didn't even have a close to the death rates that we did, and the infection rates. That's not Corona, by the way. That's my smoker's cough. Am I being too critical about it? No, I'm just being logical about it. I'm trying to look at it from a point of view and through a lens that makes sense. This situation would not have been on the same levels as it is right now if it was handled differently a year ago. Yeah, can we Monday night quarterback? Can we go look back in retrospective and criticize now? Of course, that always could be the case. But the thing was, even when this was going down at the time, there were plenty of critics and plenty of people that are much, much more educated and sophisticated in these type of nuances and political aspects than I am, that were in a very rational and mindful way trying to find other solutions. And they were being ignored, and they were being talked to in a way where they were against the system. Now, I'm not turning this into a political show. It's not. But we're talking about the real estate market, what the state of the market is, what exactly is going on. And the truth be said, everything has to be put out there. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So instead of rewinding the clocks now and saying, what if this, what if that, there's nothing we could do about the what ifs. It's more about like, what now? How do we move forward? Well, my advice to many buyers out there is continue to do what you're doing. Keep looking into places. You're not going to get all of them. You might find the perfect place. You might get outbid by on that place, and you might surpass your budget. So be it. You go on to the next place. You don't need to go excessively past your limitations. It's one thing if you could afford something and you are genuinely enamored by the house or the property and you need it for a specific reason and you're financially stable enough and have the capabilities to be able to make that purchase, even if it's going a little bit more than what the market is dictating. That's one thing. My suggestion at that point is you grab that place because it works perfectly for you. And if you're going to live in it for X amount of time, 10, 20, 30 years, then no problem. You'll be okay. If you're buying it under the same circumstances and you're going to get rid of it in a couple of years, not a wise move. Because at one point, the market will plateau. Just a fact. It's going to happen. Now, you might have a little bit of dip. It might flatline for a little bit. And then it'll eventually come back around. Are we going to have a catastrophe of epic proportions? Similar to what we faced in 2008 and 2009? Probably not. One, because the government's going to do everything they can to artificially keep sustaining this market, just like all the other markets that are artificially sustaining, like the stock market. That actually has a better chance of collapsing than the real estate market. Because, especially when you're talking about single-family residences, because people still have to live inside a house inside a dwelling. They need to live somewhere. Your stock shares of Apple drop down to 10% of their current value. It would hurt a lot of people. It would devastate a lot of people. But at the same time, you don't live in that share of Apple. You're not going to take all those, security notes and build a house out of them and live in it. You still have to live somewhere. So that's why they're not going to be on the same level. I know I'm a little bit amped up today. I'm a little bit on edge. And it's partially because of the fact that I feel for the buyers they're hurting right now. I do. I genuinely do. A lot of people think because I'm a listing agent primarily, and I do most of my sales as from the listing side, and I'm not necessarily running out with a ton of buyers on a daily basis, that I have no sympathy and I'm not being understanding of them. Well, I'll tell you, once upon a time, that's all I did, work with buyers agents. Before I started doing more of the listing kind of situation, and when I was getting my feet wet after I got past my rental phases, I was representing buyers. And not only that, I've been in their position. I bought a house for myself. I bought a property. Once, eons ago, I bought my first house. I know the feeling. I know the insecurities. I know the fears as that you feel as a first time buyer, as a homeowner, of buying in a crazy market. I bought in 2005 my first primary home. It wasn't fun when I bought. I could tell you that. Bought a damn dump. Had to take a wrecking ball to it in order to get it to be presentable at least. And we knew that, partially we knew that, my wife and me, knew that it needed an excessive amount of work, but didn't know exactly how much work it needed. And once we opened up those damn walls, but that's, another story for another time. But we knew we were overpaying, but the house worked for us. The location was good. It was optimal for us, timing-wise. So we did what we had to do. We stayed in the house for a while. Well, sold it about a year and a half. No, going closer to 2 years. I don't know. Between a year and a half, 2 years ago. If I knew what I knew now, I would have held on to it and sold it now, because I would have probably made a killing if I put it on the market now compared to what we sold it at that point, because we were at a plateau at that point where we sold it. But fine, it was, so be it. We did what we had to do. So I know that feeling. I'm understanding of the buyer's position. But I also need the buyers to understand the seller's position. Because all buyers at one point become sellers. Everything goes in cycle. There's a day when you sell, there's a day when you buy. And you might do that cycle multiple times in your life. And if you just so happen to be on the selling side during a selling market, you do what you have to do. Same thing is if you're buying during a buyer's market. It's the buyers that are dictating the rules to the sellers. The sellers are desperate to sell their house. They need to sell their house for a reason or not. And then you got the buyers throwing lower and lower offers them on a daily basis with insane terms, and many times the sellers have to accept them. It goes both ways. Why is it so hot in here? Are you putting the air conditioner on there or no?
I don't control that, baby.
The power is above.
That's right, the landlord.
All right, so I gave my spiel about that, but this is gonna give me a perfect segue to jump into something else. How do I roll closing costs into the mortgage for a new home build in California? That's from Joint Live for FHA. Okay. It's interesting the way you're presenting it. So first thing is the sales price that you're looking at. If the home is being built and is within the parameters of an appraisal, and you have a little bit of padding on there, it's simply easy to be able to get some closing costs rolled in as concessions. That's part of it. Another way to be able to do it is get a direct seller's concession, but you are limited to how much of a percentage of the sale you could do that. So I don't know how much you're purchasing that home or looking to purchase that home in California, but depending on what it is, do you have limitation on how much of a concession you could take back at a closing without the mortgage causing an issue? Oh, so you're talking about $350,000. I believe I don't hold me to this, but I recommend that you talk to your mortgage broker because there might be differences as far as state guidelines for California than what we're dealing with in here in New York. But I believe you're capped off at a 3% concession. I think you can't take more of a concession of a 3% at the closing table if, but we are working with the builder's lender and they are taking care of 5K of it, which leaves 6% of it. Okay. So I believe if you're working with a traditional type of bank, that it could be the same in California. 3% is your cap. You can't get anything more than that. Again, verify, make sure that's the case. It could be workable if the builder's lender is, if it's a new development that doesn't necessarily have a proper assessment, or I'm not sure if it's a condo that you're buying or if it's a regular type of home, or if it's a single family residence within a new development that's being put in place. Single home. Okay. On a lot by itself or in a new development that's being put together right now? If you could answer that, it'll help clear things for me and I can give you a little bit better guidance. Single home, yes. So individual home. So you're probably going to be capped by those parameters as far as how much of uh, concession you could take and how much it would cover. That's down to negotiating. If you're negotiating for yourself, you try to negotiate and get a little bit more for yourself as far as a concession is concerned. Um, if you have an agent that you're dealing with, they should be knowledgeable about doing new construction in the area for you. Always make sure if you're buying new construction to be using an agent that is knowledgeable of how to sell and purchase new construction home, because it is a different animal from pre-existing homes. And just there's a few things you need to understand. I do a lot of new construction, and that's actually a big portion of the business that I do on a daily basis. So you're actually hitting a point that I'm very familiar with and completely understand. So there's different types of scenarios that you could actually go through. You could actually go through a scenario where you're in a new development, or if you're in a new condo complex,
Do the dishes.
where what the hell was that? Um, Trevor's playing games with me right now.
No, you're all right, man. You're all right.
So there's a lot of different things. If you want me to get more into it, you could always um, you can always email me at real estate plate radio at gmail.com. Again, that's real estate plate radio at gmail.com. And I'll help guide you, and I'll send you some links to help guide you a little bit more and do whatever I can to put you on the right path. Um, and if it's so the appraiser has to be higher than the purchase price. Okay, so the appraisal, if you're going to get a traditional type of credit back, or if it's going to be rolled in and it's going to be onto the price, the appraisal has to be at least around where the final sales price is. So in other words, if you're buying that house for 350 and you got a total of expenses, let's just make it even, of $10,000 of closing costs, you want that final sales price to be 360 altogether in order to be able to cover and do whatever you have to do. So that appraisal should come in at a 360. If it doesn't come in 360, it come in short, then you have a deficit that you have to deal with. So these are the kind of things that you have to take into consideration. It's not a very straightforward, it's simple answer to be able to give you, but at the same time, it actually gives you you get a little bit of perspective. Anytime. I appreciate you writing in the live chat and signing in while we're doing this stream. I know it's the dog days of summer. People are outside. They're hanging out in the park. They're going to their kids' games. They're doing everything but listening to me on the radio, unless they're stuck in traffic here in New York. But you're very welcome. And like I said, anytime you need anything, just shoot me an email and I will definitely help you out in any way I can. And that goes out to everybody else that's listening. Uh, you know, it's my pleasure to help educate and guide anybody in the world of real estate. That's the whole purpose behind the radio show. As you can tell, I don't really have an advertiser. I don't really put sponsors. I won't back people that I don't fully endorse and don't believe in the product. That's why you never hear me talking about individual business and trying to sell things. I don't want it to be a situation that I have a infomercial show. I think those shows suck, and I think they're misguiding the public for personal gains. And that's not my intention of the show, and that's something I never want to occur here. I want people just like doing it, live to feel comfortable about asking questions without feeling like there's any alternative alternative type of intention, and that's it. I don't even ask for people to put the super chat. You want to put a super chat? Go ahead. Uh, it's greatly appreciated. Like I said, from all the way up until June 10, anything that comes into the super chat, I'm going to be taking all the proceeds and putting them directly into the Leukemia Lymphoma Society donation page. It's a campaign that we've been doing for the past few weeks, and we're trying to raise as much money as we can for that cause, help a lot of kids that really need support, help, try to get as much money we can into the research of that, because if we don't do whatever we can on an individual basis, these terrible diseases and problematic things that happen to people, especially little kids, will never be able to get solved. So, again, I didn't put the link on there. I'll put the link at the comment section after. But in the meantime, if anybody's listening to the stream live and they wanted to put a donation, you can put it through the super chat, and I'll put it in me. I'll take whatever proceeds come in from YouTube and put it in there. I'm also taking whatever comes in from monetization on these videos as far as earnings, and I'm going to donate that as well. No, again, this show right now is something that I'm really behind, and I really want to be more of a public service than anything else. So I got a little sidetracked. I wanted to make sure that I answer the questions that were in the live chat. And anybody else that wants to put a comment below, please do so, and I'll get to it. If I can't get to it during the live show, I will promise you to get to it immediately right after, individually. So, as I was alluding to just a couple minutes ago, as I'm talking about the air condition with my friend Trevor here, and how crappy the landlord here is, I'm going to go back to this whole eviction moratorium thing and landlord rights, and how landlords like this one make the lives of other landlords that are doing the right thing difficult. This is a stereotypical type of scenario. And it happens all the time in the commercial world. Just because people don't live in the spaces in a commercial environment, a lot of landlords say it's not a big deal. The heat's not working, put a coat on. The air conditioner's not working, take your shirt off. Well, I'm close to taking my shirt off. I gotta like have my buttons open and I'm freaking dying from the heat. Put Trevor there, you can see the sweat beads coming down his head. He doesn't even have any hair there to absorb the sweat. You go into the public bathrooms that are inside the halls, and they're a freaking disaster. You walk through the halls, it looks like it's pre-World War II. It's about owner pride, landlord pride, taking care of your assets. Yes, you are generating income from this asset. You know how you could generate more income? Make it a really comfortable, healthy work environment for all the people that are leasing the space from you. Yeah, you're going to get complainers. Some tenants will complain no matter how optimal the space is, how great the space is. That's going to happen. It's part of the business. But why are you burning your good tenants? The ones that pay every month, right on time, some of them paying early. Come on, stop making it difficult for other landlords as well. First of all, you're leaving money on the table, you're devaluing your product, and you're making it so much more difficult for other landlords. My office right now, that's in Syosset, the landlord's terrible there. When I tell you terrible, the damn walls are falling apart. There's during certain seasons, termites come all the way through inside the office space. You'll be sitting back in the computer room, and then termites will be flying all around. No, I'm exaggerating. It snows. They'll get to it when they get to it. We got a downhill slope in the exits of the parking lot. You know how icy that gets? If you don't clean that up right away, you're going to have accidents left there. And they do happen. You're putting people's lives at risk by your negligence. All it takes is one bad day, one bad accident, knock on wood, somebody gets hurt or worse. Now you got a problem on your hands. Yeah, you got insurance, but you just did something by your neglect that you're going to have to live with for the rest of your life. So, yeah, am I a landlord advocate? Absolutely. Do I back up the landlord community 100%? Absolutely. I don't back landlords that are doing the wrong thing, though. I don't. Part of my business model is helping people that are buying properties that have been neglected and finding what money has been left on the table, what's wrong with the place, and how they can improve their income and cash flow in the space. And you know what happened? Most of the time I do that. 90% of the stuff that I find that could dramatically increase that landlord's income is through items of neglect. The rents are undervalued. Why? Nobody's willing to pay more to be in a dump. It's pretty simple. I hope it's understandable. And if I'm offending any slumlords out there, I apologize completely. You keep doing what you're doing. You keep running your properties down to the ground. You keep making it difficult for yourself and everybody else. I mean, no offense to you. One day you're going to go overboard and it's really going to bite you. But I apologize. No offense. And for everybody that's not seeing the sarcasm in my face right now, that's watching on YouTube and just listening on the radio, I'm being sarcastic. Do the right thing. You know, we're dealing with this eviction moratorium. We're dealing with these harsh housing laws. We're dealing with all these restrictions on leasing and making our lives miserable as landlords here in New York and other places too. But here in New York, we're number one. We are number one. We're number one on a lot of things. We're number one for having housing laws. We got the number one governor who got Emmys. What else we got? Harassment suits, yeah. How many has he had of those? Like 7, 8 harassment suits? How many has he had right at? 8. He's a champion right now. I don't think there's anybody close to him. You want to get me now? You see me red right now. I'm lit up already, and you have to say De Blasio. You have to say that.
I know that's gonna rise you up.
Yeah, well, I'm almost at the end of the show, and now you're gonna get me lit up about it. I'm gonna be nice.
Okay, that's
I'm not going to get nuts about it. I promise you. I'll leave that conversation from there. Peace, tranquility. Let's calm down. Tranquilo.
you got 2 weeks to settle down because you won't be here next week. So
Yeah, that's true.
the following week. So by that time you can.
That's true. Thank you for reminding me. I got to tell everybody, I will not be doing a live show from the studio next Monday. I will have something that's pre-recorded that I'm going to be putting out on YouTube, and I'll probably have a live stream that I'll be putting out there at some time during the week. But it is Memorial Day. I don't get many days that I could actually take a breath, take a step back, enjoy my family like a human being. And emphasize like a human being because I've been running like an animal these days with work, and I really don't have any life. My kids don't even see me. My wife doesn't see me. We got mergers that we're dealing with at the offices. We got a department that I have to handle. Got sales going on. I got crazy deals that we're trying to keep together. So a day like Memorial Day is very welcome just to give me a chance to take a pause. Obviously, Memorial Day, we all know what that's all about. So take a time and reflect and embrace the reason we have Memorial Day. Be thankful for what we have right now. But I'm also thankful for having a pause, a day to breathe. But as I was saying before, New York is number one in a lot of things: harassment suits of the Emmys, housing law stringency, taxes. We got plenty of those. But I'd rather not be number one in a lot of those things. I'd love to be last in those things, actually. But, we can't pick and choose our battles. But the reason why we're number one in a lot of these kind of scenarios with housing laws and rental restriction and eviction moratoriums and all this stuff is because of the ongoing battle between housing providers, tenants, renters, and the few bad apples that you have as far as landlords out there that make it extremely difficult for the rest of us. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some landlords that do things out of pure frustration, out of pure, they just give up or they run out of money. And they don't do these things or neglect their properties because they want to. They just no longer have the ability to sustain. That's not the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ones that do it intentionally. The ones that intentionally neglect their properties. The ones that intentionally do things that are vindictive and unhuman like to their tenants. Those are what I'm talking about. I put them on the same level as the tenants that are tenants from hell, the nightmare tenants. Same category as the slumlords. The key of the show is to have a non-biased opinion and go out there in a way where I kind of put out the information. I'll give you a little bit of me. I'll give you a little bit of my bias as well. I'll give you my 2 cents in there. But I never want to. I never want anybody in the audience listening to feel that I'm only taking one side. I don't want them to feel that I'm taking the buyer side. I don't want them to feel that I'm taking the seller side. I don't want them to feel that I'm taking the tenant side. I don't want them to feel that I'm taking the landlord side. Consider me your source for information. And I'm going to give out that information the way it is. Now, whether you like it, the way it comes out of my mouth is a different story. I know that I'm not necessarily all kid gloves with a lot of the stuff I say, and I'm not that delicate as far as the way it comes out of my mouth. Sometimes I'm pretty blunt. But that's the way it is. I hope at least everybody listening today and to all the other videos that we've done and all the other radio shows that we've done understand that I'm saying everything on these shows, everything that's coming from me is from the heart. It's in order to benefit the public in the best way possible. So, on that note, I'm going to have to sign off. I'm going to wish everybody a happy Memorial Day next Monday. I'll find a way to get back on, one way or the other, through a live stream or a recorded message. I will be on this Thursday with Maria Recruit on our little Canadian American challenge kind of a thing, trying to figure out the differences and collaborate between housing laws between Canada and the U.S. And it's been an interesting few episodes that we've done together so far. And you should definitely check it out. I'll put the link down below so everybody can hear that. And I'm also going to be putting in a few of the older shows that we did together on this channel to give everybody a new perspective and understanding of how housing laws are here in comparison on an international level. So until 2 weeks from now, where you're going to see me back in the studio, I want everybody to enjoy the Memorial Day. I want everybody to have a great week. I want everybody to make a lot of money in real estate. I want everybody to be kind to Trevor when I'm not here.
Thank you.
And just like every time, I'll see you next time on the Real Estate Plate every Monday, 6 to 7 p.m.
I said we certainly gonna miss you next night.
I'm going to miss you too, Trevor. I'm going to miss you too, Trevor. The landlord's not going to miss me. You think he's listening right now?
I doubt it. We can't even find him around here, so I don't know.
With our luck, he's going to hear this show.
I know, right?
We'll see.
All right.
Have a great week, everyone. Oh, man. What the hell's going on with these microphones again?